We're getting ready to pull into the landfill. These people are either in a really good mood or they're in a really bad mood. But there is never any in between. So stand by for shockwaves. All right, we got one load down. This will be a load. And that plus what is in the garage will be a load. And this is what the garage looks like. It's the dirty side of real estate, baby. Well, welcome back, Adrian. Welcome back, Adrian. Welcome back, Adrian. It's everyone. Welcome back, everyone. It's Adrian. And the temperature is here 99. And the heat index is 112 or 113. We are in we're in the dog days of summer. Brief history lesson because I'm nerdy like this. The dog days of summer by the lunar calendar are the 3rd of July to the 11th of August, and I don't remember the literal. I don't remember the Roman word for it, and I don't remember the literal translation. But essentially, in ancient Rome, the star Sirius, which is the shoulder in the constellation Canis Major, would always come before the sun in the hottest days of the year. And that was always between July 3rd and August 11th. And I'm going to butcher this horribly, but the Roman phrase was something like Sin Sirius Canininus or something like that, and it would loosely translate to when the dog dies, which would people just turned into the dog days of summer. So anyway, there's your Jeopardy. There's your double Jeopardy round answer for when that pops up in 15 years, and you'll know it, unless the Hollywood writers stay on strike, and then you'll just watch reruns and you won't get to be able to answer that question for 20 years, but I digress. Anyway, we're doing something different today. I am not breaking anything down or building anything on my property, and I'm not cooking anything over hot coals. We took a field trip today, and I did not get everybody's permission slip returned, but that's okay. Today is a little bit about business, and specifically my business. I am self-employed. I have been self-employed for my entire professional career. A part of those, for the first few years, it was as a W-2 employee, but I have never, with the exception of a 3.5-year tour of duty in management in corporate America, which taught me a lot of valuable lessons. I made a couple incredible relationships, and the rest of it really was full of shallow, vacuous, vapid people that had never competed in a sport, never been punched in the mouth, and lived by the creed of political correctness. However, I started my first small business in the late 2000s and got my real estate license in 2014. I was at one of the largest firms in Indiana for 2 years, and then I started my own brokerage. And I recently within the last 6 months, have started a secondary business that is heavy trash hauling and junk removal. And that's what I'm working on today at a property. And just like building the fence, I picked the hottest day of the year to do it. But it needs to get done. And what's, I'll be honest with you, because I'm not a guy that's going to puff up my chest and tell you how much I underpaid for a truck or a property. And I'm not going to puff up my chest and tell you, how much I bid over a job and I still got the job. I think small business is about being brutally honest, and I'll be brutally honest with you. I underbid this job, but it's a valuable lesson, and I did not do it in haste. I just figured volume in my head a little differently than the volume that was actually there. But it's okay. It's an opportunity to develop a good relationship with somebody. And really, that's what small business is about. It's about developing relationships, and it's about building a referral base, which is the lifeblood of small business. And if you can't find a way to get people to stick around, and if you can't find a way to get them to refer, then you are not going to last long in small business. And it is not always easy, and it is not what the people selling coaching programs always make it out to be. And it's not always about Google SEO, and it's not always about social media marketing. It is getting nitty gritty. It's about pounding dirt, and it's about getting out and getting in front of as many people as possible. So anyway, that's how we're going to start out this video. Thanks for coming along. Oh, that nasty pile is all that's left. Those are probably 60-year-old. That's probably 60-year-old dimensional lumber. So it's thick and dense. It's rough cut. It's not the stuff that we're buying in the dimensional lumber section at the big box retailer these days. So I'm gonna have to come back and get that cleared up, because that's a bear. The rest of this, the carport, is all in there, and then I filled in some gaps with just the trash, and then a load that my dad would say would make Fred Sanford proud. I even got the back of the truck loaded up with more trash. So this is a second clean out on this property. So we are driving back with the second load from the Clinton property, and it's another opportunity to talk about small business. Small business is not for everybody. Small business is wonderful and incredible. It's liberating, and it's horrible, and it's frustrating, and it can be lonely. And we don't say that to either pat ourselves on the back or ask you to pray for us or weep for us, but it's just the truth. If you have never been in small business and dealt with the ebbs and flows of small business, and dealt with customers not staying loyal, and dealt with having to chase payments down from customers and chase invoices, and if you've ever dealt with competitors undercutting prices or being vultures on a database that you worked hard to create, then you understand. But if you want to start a small business, I think that the first thing that needs to be assessed is, what is that business going to be? What is that business going to look like? Is that business going to be counted on for money to live upon right away? Is it going to be started as a side hustle? Is it going to be started at night and done after a day job or a 9 to 5? Those are things to consider. Do you have money to start a business? I wished, and I was raised in a house where no one really knew what small business was. My parents are employees, and they were both very good employees and very loyal employees, but they're employees nonetheless. So they didn't understand what it would take when when I kind of let them know that I was ready to start a business. And now that I know where I am with my kids, I absolutely drive into my kids to save your money, save your money, save your money. If you think you want something, let's give it a few days and let's assess the situation and see how we feel. Because think about what it took for you to acquire the money that has been saved up, and it's gone in a flash. You can go and get a loan, but I would highly counsel against seeking a bank to be a business partner, because it just sucks so much capital out of the beginning when capital is needed. And I know that the world of social media gurus and internet experts is flush with finding angel investors and finding silent partners and finding venture capital, crowdfunding. But when all of those decisions, when any of those decisions are considered, and if any of those decisions are chosen, then the individual starting the enterprise is beholden to that angel investor or that venture capitalist or the people that invested or the crowd fund. And all of a sudden they are not a small business owner. They're just an employee trying to get a small business off the ground. And it's not easy to get off the ground. And of course, the internet and social media only show us successes and flashy cars and stacks of cash and blingy jewelry and the success stories. But this right here, this is small business. This is small business. And I never want to be too proud to get to the point where I'm afraid to get my hands dirty, because there have been too many times where I really needed something to come in, and it did not come in as fast as I needed. And so I try to leave no stone unturned, and I try to accommodate as much business as I can. All we are ever exposed to is the bright, shiny side of things in order to give more legitimacy to the influencer. But I refuse to let you, who has the safety of a screen and the weapon of a keyboard, I refuse to lead you on that any of this is easier than it really is. So those are just some things to take into consideration. So you either work while you start a business, or work while you start generating revenue on the side, or you start saving and you live as frugally as possible. And if I was a young man that was was a teenager, and I knew that I wanted to start a business, I would start saving yesterday. And I wouldn't try to impress girls, and I wouldn't try to impress others, and I wouldn't go out and buy an expensive car, and I wouldn't have flashy clothes. I would set aside every cent I could possibly set aside in order to start a business. Because there are so many ways to grow the snowball once you get going, but sometimes it is just so doggone hard to get going. So we've pinpointed a business. We know that we need to start setting money aside for operating capital, living expenses. Who are your customers? Where are you going to find those customers? Are those customers people that you know? Are those customers in your county? Are they in your town? Are they on the other side of the country? Are they on the other side of the world? And if they are, how are you going to reach them? How are you going to get in front of them? How are you going to stay in front of them? What are you going to do to build value into your proposition so that they decide to do business with you? How are you going to charge? What's your pricing structure? What's an add-on? What's an upsell? How can you create value with what you are going to offer, and then create specific levels so that you can obtain more revenue for more service or better service? How are you going to collect money? How are you going to bill? What are you going to do if they don't pay? What are you going to do if they continue to not pay? These are all things that the flashy videos and the gurus they never cover. They never speak about. And we are complete with the cleanup. This one was a bear. A little life lesson to everybody. Always make sure that you are over prepared. I got a Stihl 024 AV, old school West German chainsaw, and the chain came off it. I brought it along my MS270. I think the fuel filter might need cleaned out a little bit because it was having trouble running. I did all this, broke all this down with a DeWalt DCS reciprocating saw and 1.5 20 volt 3 amp hour batteries. Pretty impressed. Like we say, if you've got a product, are you going to make the product and distribute the product and sell the product? Or are you just going to manufacture the product and then create a network of dealers or distributors that can get that to the retailers? If you've got a product, what's your space going to look like? You can have a manufacturing space. Do you need to have a retail front? Because if you need to have a retail front, then that's going to change how much you're paying for rent, and most people aren't going to have a retail storefront in the same place where they manufacture, but the rent's going to be significantly higher in an area that's zoned for retail. If you have a service-based business, are you going to go to the customer, or is the customer going to come to you? If the customer's going to come to you, you're going to need to have a space. Is it going to be a home-based business, or are you going to lease something? Maybe you've got the ability to buy something. If you lease and you need a build-out, who's paying for the build-out? Is that on the landlord? If that's on the landlord, they're going to want a longer-term lease and a higher monthly rent. If the build-out's on you, then you're going to pay out of pocket, but the landlord's going to have to approve everything, and the landlord is going to be involved every step of the way. Does the zoning allow for what you want to do? If you've got a home-based business, I'm not the nosy neighbor, I'm not the safety Sally, and I'm not the HOA Ken or Kevin or the HOA Karen, but they are out there. You know they're out there. What are you going to do if you've got a home-based business and people start snooping around? What do the covenants and restrictions say, if there are any, for your neighborhood? I have sold plenty of properties where the covenants, conditions, and restrictions say that if you have a home-based business, you are only allowed so many packages in or so many packages out each day. Now, is there going to be someone there counting it? There could be. I don't know. The problem with HOAs is that it's usually, with the exception of one, I've got a very loyal client that's the president of his HOA, and Jeff, you do a doggone good job. But if, the president of the HOA, their wife's got nothing better to do than to spy from her house and see what you're doing. Are you prepared to pay all the little expenses? Are you prepared to pay the heat, the gas, the water bill, the electric, any utilities? Are you prepared to pay the common area maintenance that could come with a lease? Or is it a triple net lease where you pay everything? You pay rent, you pay taxes, you pay everything on that building. The landlord just sits back and collects a check every single month. And finally, we get to the point where we start moving forward. We have customers. We have a way to bill them. We have a way to upsell them and upcharge. We have a way to add value, and we're collecting revenue. And now our schedule's too full. We're too busy. And now you have to figure out a way to effectively duplicate yourself. And that's going to cost money. And And you've got to have that budgeted in. And is that person going to do everything that you're doing in a different location? Is that person going to take some of your responsibilities so that you can go out and build? Is that person going to require more room? Is that person going to require more equipment? Are you going to need a truck for them? As you grow, then all of a sudden you're going to find yourself having to be in multiple places at one time, and guess what? That is not possible. And you know what? I don't have all the answers, but I have a lot of the answers. And I've got 2 decades of time under tension. And I've stayed up all night, and I've watched my wife and family be excited, and I've figured out how we're going to make this all work, and I have walked out of a building feeling like a champion. And obviously, as you get older and do all this, the times of you walking around and out of places feeling like a champion increases, and the number of sleepless nights wondering how we're going to figure this all out, those start to get fewer and further between. But ultimately, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not trying to sell you a coaching program. I'm just trying to help you out. I'm trying to provide inspiration. And I'm telling you that if I can do it, you can do it. And there are success stories every single day of people making small business happen. You don't have to be born into it. You don't have to have a lot of money. As a matter of fact, about the biggest attribute you've got to have is being stubborn and refusing to quit. And as you do that more, then you get comfortable living next to the edge. And the edge isn't a good place to be. But when you're in small business, the edge is going to exist. And sometimes the edge is going to be really, really close. And sometimes the edge is going to feel like it's light years away. But there's an edge. And I want you to know that if I am the only other individual, if I'm the only other individual that feels this way and that thinks this way, but you think that way too, then at least you're not alone. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. I hope I brought value. I look forward to seeing you next time.